And this is why we wouldn't have been friends back then,
Oh
because
no, no. Most
just
of my friends now wouldn't have been friends with me back
yeah.
then.
And
Like,
I knew so many people just by virtue of my father's Jewish, even though he's an atheist and I wasn't really raised with any religion, but just by virtue of that, people who like how you used to be would condemn me. And I'm like, you can go fuck yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Well, the irony too was because I also was like, I was persecuted before that by those same people.
yeah.
And then like I came of age in a way and then like became a champion for it,
Well, you
which
didn't
was,
fit in
yeah,
until,
which is,
and yeah.
and so it was also like, so all of it was just this, it was my path, it was my journey, but
Mm-hmm.
that was a crossroads in the real moment that everything in life had to change for me. It was a moment that I recognized I'm either proceeding willfully knowing that this is not right, or knowing that there are things that I can't reconcile with this that are not true, and I'm just
Right.
going to blindly go forward and forget the evidence and forget all of these things, or I'm going to swallow my pride and I'm going to seek the truth, no matter how painful that may be for me, no matter how much that uproots. Not only now my family life has been uprooted, but now my
Mm-hmm.
spiritual life, the one sure
Mm-hmm.
thing I thought I had was where I was going to go when I died. Now I don't have that anymore, because now I'm turning my back on my faith. Now, like, does that mean I'm still going to go to, what if I'm wrong? Like all of that, like I was in a dark place for 2 years after this. And this didn't happen until I moved down here. So I took took a job after winning that, picked the one that paid me a signing bonus and most money, and took something that took me to LA,
Nice.
not because of something I want to do, but strictly for all those superficial reasons. And obviously a year into that, became manically depressed again, had a fall from grace, got, high on my horse from the ego of like, what I had done. And then like, once again, resorted back to my faith and went into a church here in Santa Monica. And it was in a Bible study group actually that I met that writer, that cinematographer who introduced me to Leslie Dixon, who was a huge, huge writer, who's made
Mm-hmm.
countless movies we all know. And she was the one that essentially discovered me and told me, this is what you should do, and you should be an actor. And I never looked back. And that was like, yes, that is exactly what I should be doing. And I've never nurtured, like I've always had this creative, crazy imagination that never got nurtured, because I took the practical
Mm-hmm.
business conservative, this is what you do. Like it was all that mindset, all of that programming that made me take that path, versus a path of like creativity that got smothered by the authoritative totalitarian rule that I had as a
Yeah.
child that kept that from like blossoming. And so it then flourished. But during that period of time, those things that I would debate with him, that my buddy, and other things, and what obviously happened with my mom and a bunch of other terrible things that ended up happening in life to me around that time, led to this like this departure from the faith. And it went to this dark side of like, I don't know anything anymore because I don't believe this really. And I don't know what I believe. And so I then was like, well, we all put our faith in something, like you just said, no matter what, we're putting our faith, even if that's an atheist view, your belief is that there's nothing. That's the
Yeah.
faith. Your
Yeah.
faith
Right.
is there's nothing.
That exactly is. It's a faith.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, who am I to say anything or what I believe is right, which you've heard me say many times, because the only reason why I believed it was because of who raised me, where I was raised, and what was impressed upon me in those formidable years. It's the only reason why I believe what I believe to be real. That's the only fucking reason. Doesn't mean it's real. If I was raised in the Middle East, somewhere else, like from different parents, I'd be believing a completely different thing. And I would believe it was right.
Yeah.
Like
You'd be a member of the one tribe or another in one place. You'd be speaking Chinese if you were born to a different family. Yeah. I mean, that's it.
And that was like the ultimate moment of, I think, compassion and empathy. Like, was this like, how dare I think this? And how dare I think I was so right about these things of which I really knew nothing. And so without especially investigating these things. So that led me then to investigate all religions to see what they're really about, instead of just being like, no, they're wrong, my God's the true God. Like, oh my gosh, like that. I mean, that's what you're raised to believe. And so what do they say? What is their faith? Like, oh, wow, there's a lot of things that are echoed here. Oh, wow, they're kind of the same, but weirdly enough, painted with a different cultural brush of where they're from. That's kind of interesting. Like, just a different, like, and then that led to space, which I was always fascinated with, and the universe and science and exploration on that end of like, okay, what's the scientific explanation of this? What does science say? And then that led to the universe, that led to like exploration into, I mean, I spent 2 years deeply involved in space, like just so like fascinated almost in an academic way with like just documentary after documentary about the solar system, about the galaxy, the universe, like black holes, like everything. And I was like, there is so much more. Like there's like, it's so much more grand. Like we don't know shit. Like I don't know shit. And then like that led to
It's unbelievable. I mean, I had a friend when I first moved out here. Well, maybe I'd been here for a number of years. This is probably like maybe 15 years ago, uh, maybe a little bit longer. And he met a woman and they fell in love. They got married. They have kids and they don't live in LA anymore. At one point in time, I can't remember what was going on. Maybe there was comets, maybe there was a meteor shower. She didn't know that all the lights in the sky at night, stars, were other suns and other solar systems. She's like, what do you mean? There's other solar systems? You know, those are other suns. She had no idea.
Wow.
And she's not dumb. Like this is a smart woman. She just
never thought about it.
Never thought about it. Never was introduced to the idea. Grew up in a very, very Christian family. Went through the school system, public school system, got her grades. You know, she did fine. Mm-hmm. She definitely, I think she probably is smarter than the average person, or at least average, if not more. She was not dumb by any stretch of the imagination. Her now husband, you know, I think both of them are multilingual. You know, they entrepreneurs, very successful, not dumb, but she had no idea those stars were suns and other solar systems. No idea. And
it didn't encourage that type of exploration.
Yeah.
Like you were told, like science is like, you know, it's a threat ultimately to like, you know, it's undermining God. Where it's quite mad
at people for, you know, pollution or for, you know, whatever. And it's like, well, how do we know what they believe or what they even think? Because there are people out there that are convinced that, you know, the earth is flat. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've heard some of the arguments, and as long as you discount all of technology, all of sailing for the last how many thousands of years, and so many other things, yeah, sure, okay, it makes sense. But if you don't have any exposure to those things, I can actually see how you would get caught up in the flat earth thing. So, and it's like, what do you say to that? You know, it's like, hey, all right, well, if you choose that illusion, like that's fine. But that's what it is living in a eclectic community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
and
like the tribalism in general, like we do seek community no matter what. And like we need that belongingness and that sense of purpose. And where there is that need, there's going to be a cult nearby that's going to arise to fill that need for people.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's a cult, but you know what I mean?
No,
like
but survival is the name of the game. Life is about survival, and how we survive. We are taught from a very early age, we cannot survive without our mother. And it's a lot easier when you have a father. It's even easier when you have some siblings. It gets even easier when you've got an extended community. Now, that could be on the street in a gang. That could be in a fraternity in an Ivy League school. Depending on the bed you're born into, like your version of survival is going to look very different, but it's easier when there's more people involved. Yep. And that's why, I don't remember who said it first, but you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yep.
And, you know, which is why some parents or college professors or guidance counselors will say, pick your friends carefully, because they're going to influence, you know, how you turn out and who you are. And, you know, if you're around a lot of smokers, chances are you're going to smoke. And it's, I don't know, it's just life. That, you know, that's how, you know, because we're just trying to survive. We're all just trying to figure it out and get along.
That's it, man. It comes down to that, really. I mean, you can boil things down to that in the most simplistic sense. And that really, the end of that journey, or the journey is still going, obviously. And as you know, that led to the past, I mean, I guess it's been 12 years now of heavy research into all of these things, because I had the awakening of realizing how wrong I was about things, and how much more is out there, how much more perspective, information, how much we don't actually know. Like, and it's so much hubris to claim that we do. And I would rather, I dedicated then everything to the pursuit of that knowledge, to pursuit of truth at all costs, whatever it may be. And obviously, the fields it's gravitated to, whether it's psychedelics, consciousness, UFOs, history, ancient history, governments, things like that. But I want to know. All I want to do is know. I don't want to be made the fool. I want to understand the true nature of things, hence the psychedelics too.
So and we'll have to do another episode because we're already over 2 hours, I think, at this point. But here's another quick question for you to kind of just wrap things up, or get to a wrapping up place. I know Christians that are incredibly open-minded, and they'll look at anything. And we'll just leave it at that. They're incredibly open-minded. Do you still consider yourself a Christian? No. Okay. And was that a important decision or distinction to make at any point in time?
No, that was the painful transition. That was really.
Want more? Check out this clip or the full episode, and don't forget to leave a comment. If you want more conversations and clips, check out our channel. Thanks for listening. See you next time.